and almost killed someone. I have no right to be a millionaire, but I am. I don't even have a right to be alive, but I am. So if you have any doubt that you deserve to be rich, you can let go of that right now. Because if someone like me can go from recklessly driving drunk, making $1.5 million seemingly overnight, then I can only imagine what you can accomplish once you know what I know. My name is Winter V, and right now I own several online businesses and make more than $1 million a year doing what I love. But the fact is that until I learned what I'm about to tell you, I was shamelessly in debt, utterly depressed, a clinical alcoholic, and ready to die. But there was one thing that changed my life. That made me give up drinking for good. That made me start an online company out of nowhere and become a millionaire. And I'm going to share that secret with you right now. The way I got rich was with an online company. But I want to make it absolutely clear that you don't need to do the same thing. You can stay in the industry or business you're in. You can stay an employee if you like. You can start a new business. And it doesn't matter whether you're a realtor, a lawyer, or a fast food worker. Anyone can become a millionaire as long as they follow what I'm about to show you. So get ready, because I'm going to take you on the ride of your life. Here's how it all began.
New overnight, a car crashed into a wood shop in North Portland, leaving a big mess for the owners. This happened around 1 o'clock this morning near North Columbia and Interstate Place. Look at that video. The entire car is in the building. Police on scene tell us someone was sleeping upstairs when the crash happened, but that person is okay. No word if the driver was hurt.
It was Columbia Avenue in Portland, Oregon. There I was, drunk, behind the wheel of a Toyota Matrix that had completely lost traction with the road. As that car spun around, any sane person would have gripped the wheel like a bear protecting its cub. Me, I took my hands off the wheel. Because in that single moment, in the calm of the eye of the storm, I was happy to die. You're probably wondering how I got to that point, and I'll tell you. You can call it bad karma. You can call it bad luck, or a punishment from God. It's up to you. All I know was in the year 2012, life had dealt me a merciless beatdown. It started with a buzz on my cell phone. It was about my mother. She had been battling some health issues, and thus far it was an unknown disease. She was being rushed to the hospital. They really had no way of treating it. Experts flew in from everywhere. It went on for months, until she became trapped in her own body, unable to communicate or even move. Ultimately, she chose to end her life. No, she didn't silently one night kill herself. She took advantage of some laws in her home state, which allowed her to ingest an actual death pill. Her demise was scheduled on a Monday morning. I painfully remember the days leading up to that Monday. The state provided assistance in what was needed. She took her pill. She took a lot longer to go than she was supposed to. I held her in my arms as she breathed her last breath, whispering to her that her children would all be okay. You'd think I'd have a minute to mourn for my mom. I didn't have a second. I was trapped in a relationship with an abusive girlfriend that I didn't know how to leave. And I was also trapped in debt, because a few wrong moves in my catering business left me in debt to the IRS to the tune of $32,000 that I had no way of paying back. And guess what? When you're over $25,000 in debt to the IRS, they don't accept installment payments. How kind of them. They would be leaving my bank account soon. So I took a low-paying IT job to try to stop the bleeding. But I lost that job on my 26th birthday, 2 days before Christmas. With no end in sight to this real-life horror film, I turned to the bottle. One shot led to another, and before I even knew what was happening, I was a raging alcoholic. I know it seems hard to believe, that this all could happen to one person in a single year. I didn't believe it either, which is why I had to drink enough to make sure I never had to face it. That's why I embraced death that night in the car. Because whatever death was, it couldn't possibly be worse than what I was feeling. Now, let me bring you to August of 2014. As of today, I haven't had a drink in over 23 months. And you see that? That's me jumping out of a plane in New Zealand, totally sober. And this is what I call home now. These are my cars. And since that bad accident, I've made well over $1.5 million from an online business I started. This making me the fastest growing internet marketer to date, which is why wherever I go, everyone pesters me constantly with the same question. So what's your secret? And we'll get to that now. Well, after surviving the drunk driving incident, I found myself in jail for several days with no booze to dull my emotions, no real distractions. There was just me and my thoughts, and something really took me a sudden. I began to notice all the negativity floating around in my head about life, about myself, about my abilities to do anything right, how I'm no good with money, how I didn't do enough for my mom, how I will never find someone who truly cares about me. Why was I thinking like this? Had never thought like that before. It was like I'd been poisoned mental toxins somewhere down the line. Ever since the tragedy with my mother, that event kicked off a destructive pattern that was destroying my life. It was my own mind that had become my enemy. When I got out, I went online to find something that would get me out of the real prison, the mental prison I'd created for myself. I tried it all. Maybe I was just stubborn, not really sure. All I know is I bought about 20 different personal development products. Nothing worked for me. Still addicted, still broke, and still angry. I religiously practiced the law of attraction. I tried hypnotherapists, meditation, therapy. I got this feeling that something was missing, like I was looking in the wrong place. The problem was deeper than my thoughts, because my thoughts just kept snapping back to the way they used to be, no matter what I did. One day I was flipping through a book and came across a quote from the greatest doctors in history, Hippocrates. From the brain come all joys, delights, laughter and sports, and sorrows, griefs, despondency, and lamentations. By the brain we become mad and delirious, and fears and terrors assail us all. All these things we endure from the brain when it is not healthy. I started to think about it. What if my brain was behind all of this? Maybe my brain was the reason I wasn't able to think and grow rich. The more I thought about it, the more it made sense to me. I'm a programmer, and I know that if your hardware is shot, you can have the best software, and it just won't work. And if you pour the best wine into a broken glass, well, that won't work either. I figured that's sort of what's been happening with all the work everyone is doing with their thoughts. All their hard work is following through the cracks. I had no job, and I love to learn new things. So I went all in and spent over 100 hours researching the brain. And this is what I found out. Your brain has over 100 billion neurons, sort of like cities. But these cities are not all connected. If neurons have highways, called synapses, connecting them to each other, the electrical signal flows and that part of the brain works better. What I discovered next was huge. After it was all said and done, I realized that if you saw a map of these neural connections, you will see a map of your life. It's amazing. Your brain is basically a roadmap that decides what direction your life will take. It decides how you react, how you process information, how much motivation you have, how much musical talent you have, and most importantly, the creativity, planning ability, and motivation that makes people rich. Well, it turns out rich people's brains are conditioned one, and most other people's brains are conditioned another. That is the only difference between you and a Bill Gates. If he hadn't made money with Microsoft, he'd have made money somewhere else. He has a rich person's brain. That's why when rich people start one business successfully, they usually are successful with the others too. Because it doesn't really matter what business they are in. They are wired for success. It just comes to them naturally. They have very strong neural connections in the qualities that make you successful with money. Acumen, foresight, drive, inspiration, risk assessment. Then there's the rest of us. We've got roadblocks in those areas. We try to break through to wealth, but we just keep hitting up against the wall and going back home because those pathways just aren't open to us. It's like we're stuck on repeat. That's why each day seems a little like Groundhog Day. You go to the same job, taking the same roads, drinking the same coffee, and getting the same results. But how do you change it? Is it even possible to change it? Well, nobody thought you could, until scientists discovered only recently something called brain plasticity, the ability to reshape your brain. This was the golden nugget that I was looking for. I spent another 75 hours just on brain plasticity. I figured if I could reshape my brain, I could reshape my life. I went through hundreds of government studies, hundreds of academic research papers. I knew the librarian like a brother. Until I'd read every article I could about brain plasticity, then I delved into the medical research. Until one day, I discovered a small government-funded study done in 1993 with 50 college students. In this experiment, they found they were able to create radical changes in neural function, allowing them to get 25% improvement in a new skill in just 7 days. Just 7 days to a new brain. How was this possible? I found out the strategy they were using. I couldn't believe it. This was a true breakthrough. How come I didn't hear about this on the news? I didn't know, but I knew it was powerful. Money problems were at the top of my mind. So one of my first thoughts was, what if I use this for wealth? What if I could use it to get me out of this financial mess? So I started using the method. For all the key parts of the brain needed for money making, tweaking them to make them work for me and for that specific purpose. It was really weird, but after a few weeks of doing this, I noticed my attitude started to change. I started to see things more clearly. My dreams about money just came more into focus and became more real to me, more doable. Suddenly, I knew exactly what I needed to do. And with no hesitation, I started to do it. All that procrastination and laziness that was keeping me on the couch was gone. I started to really enjoy the work I was doing. It just flowed. Ideas started to come. Good, solid ideas. I started moving forward. And I was actually attracting partnerships that I was never able to get. People just looked at me differently, like I was going somewhere. I launched my first product, and it took off. Made me $22,489 in the first week I launched. I was shocked. The next week, it made me $45,489. Now I was just floored, and it kept going from there. I had to hire 3 support reps just to keep up. By the end of the year, I turned around and realized I had netted over $1.2 million. I had cleared all of my debts, bought my first home, paid in cash, and a girlfriend who I absolutely love and who loves me back just the same. It all came back to that method. The method was great, but it took a lot of time and effort to do. So the programmer in me asked, how could I make this more efficient? I wanted to see even bigger results even faster. And why not make it more fun, so I actually enjoy doing it? I was watching a movie preview at the time, and I thought to myself, everybody loves movie previews, and they seem really to have a big impact on us at a deep emotional level. How much more powerful would that be? What if I combine the power of a movie preview to this brain reshaping method? Well, guess what? I ran an ad on Craigslist for people willing to partake in a 1-week experiment. We used the movie preview method, and I was absolutely astounded. My method beat out the experiment by 120% in the same 7 days. With one catch. Instead of spending 30 minutes a day, we were just spending 90 seconds, 2 times a day. Word got out about this experiment. You may have seen our brain miracle featured in several major medical news sites. Today, I have several neuroscientists who swear by my movie preview method. We're currently working on a published study in a major peer-reviewed journal. One of the first people I tried it on was my sister Kara. She was unemployed for 2 years. Yep, it runs in the family. She watched the movie previews every day for an entire month. She landed a new job by day 12. She swears by this method now. I wanted to see what would happen if someone used it who already had some money. So I offered to do it for an entrepreneur known as CJ. He said, why not? In the first 3 months after using it, his profits went from $120,000 per month to $350,000 per month. He told me he couldn't describe why. Things just seemed lighter, easier. He was more creative. He was having more fun. I began to realize that this was it. This is what the world had been missing. This is the real road to true wealth. It turns out, true wealth is only built on a certain kind of brain. I created the system to shape that kind of brain. I've now perfected the system so well that, like clockwork, I can get someone started with this system and see their income rise at least 20, 30, even 50% in their first month of using it. In short, I can now confidently say that I can hardwire your brain for wealth, giving you the brain of a millionaire. All the right neural pathways. So you think like a millionaire, act like a millionaire. You will get the results of a millionaire. And that's why I call this system the Millionaire Brain Academy, the surest and fastest way to live out your financial dreams. How do I know? Because I did it for myself. Have a look. This is what my bank account looked like after just using the system for 6 months. And I'm not the only one. Check this out.
It's Jason. I just want to get in touch with you to let you know that the Millionaire Brain has been the most rewarding experience of my life. I felt like I was tied up my whole life. Suddenly, I'm free. Suddenly, where I saw misery, I see opportunities. I have the motivation, the drive. My wife, she can't believe that I am finally taking action on the business that I've always wanted to start. Oh, and get this. I just made $6,486 this past week. I have a clear chart to $1 million, and I'm not going to stop until I hit it.
Winter, thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't fully know how to thank you. I've been promoted twice in the last 6 months. That never happens at my company. My income has increased from $45,000 a year to $65,000 a year. I can totally see that corner office coming my way. You know, I can't quite say that I understand how it really works. I just know that it does. Obstacles seem to just disappear. I can truly say that I have the millionaire brain. Thank you.
Winter, my buddy, you know me from high school. You know, I started out in finance and then I went on to day trading. Well, you were always a smart kid in the class. So when I saw you had a course, I had to try it. Get this. I was barely eking out a living before Millionaire's Brain. After the course, I am profitable on 72% of my trades. They're now offering me the biggest account in the firm. Everybody keeps asking me what my secret is. Now, that's between you and me. I'm keeping this secret to myself.